Well, to tell you of a couple of occasions when God showed himself faithful in my weakness is not difficult, because the story of pastoral ministry is a story of weakness and it's a story of God's faithfulness. But I'll give you just two. One is Scottish, one is American. The Scottish one is when I was very young and preaching at a conference for missionaries. I did a pretty terrible job. And there was a gentleman sitting on the front row, and he was watching me like a hawk. And at the end of the talk, as I began to make my way out of the room, he caught me by the arm. And he introduced himself to me. I'd never met him in my life. And he said to me, you know, a couple of things you said this evening were really helpful. He said, but it was only a couple of things. The rest of it wasn't very good. And he said, and I'll tell you why. And then he explained to me that the things that I had said about the Bible displayed a lack of confidence on my part in the Scriptures. And he was very, very straightforward, but he was very, very kind. And he prayed with me that evening behind a bookstall. I'll never forget it. And I remember I went back to my bedroom and I wept. And I wept for all kinds of reasons. Mostly my pride was hurt. But I wept for the fact that this man that I'd never met was brave enough to risk any possibility of friendship by seeking to be directive and encouraging at the same time. As years passed and I had opportunity to preach, for example, at the Keswick Convention, which is a big event in England, I still would refer to the impact of that man's life, which was a ministry of the faithfulness of God to me in my weakness. That's the Scottish one. The American one is when my weakness was shown up in dealing with people in leadership. I remember I confronted an individual in a group one evening in a way that was truthful, but it wasn't kind, and it was hurtful. And the following morning I had a call from one of my elders, and he said to me, you know, what you did last night wasn't good because you offended that man in front of these men. And he said, and what I want you to do is I want you to phone him up and apologize to him. And it was like, I just sat at the end of the line. I thought, who does he think he is, telling me to do what I have to do? I'm the pastor of the church. But I knew deep down that was true. It was right. And so I did what he told me to do. And there was, again, reclamation and restoration and friendship that came out of that. But it was, again, on the basis of a man being prepared to speak the truth in love in an area of weakness in my own life, which I'm able to reflect on today at the age of 64, and thank God because it was an expression of his faithfulness, because God is always faithful.